Iran is continuing to defy the United States as President Donald Trump's deadline loomed for it to reopen the strategic Strait of Hormuz.
A Russian drone strike on a bus stop in central Ukraine killed 3 people and injured a dozen more.
A high-speed train in France collided with a heavy goods vehicle, killing the train driver.
The Greek Parliament recommends lifting the immunity of 11 lawmakers whose names appear in a farm subsidy scandal.
Actress and UNHCR Goodwill Ambassador Christine Davis has just returned from Sudan, where she met mostly female refugees who had fled violence.
Iran showed no signs of backing down on Tuesday, even as a U.S. deadline loomed for it to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. On Monday, as U.S. President Donald Trump's midnight deadline approached, Tehran maintained their defiance, rejecting his calls to enter into a deal with Washington. In a late press conference in the White House, Trump vowed to destroy all of Iran's bridges and critical infrastructure, in damage he said will take a century to rebuild.
We have a plan, because of the power of our military, where every bridge in Iran will be decimated by 12 o'clock tomorrow night, where every power plant in Iran will be out of business, burning, exploding, and never to be used again. I mean, complete demolition by 12 o'clock. And it'll happen over a period of 4 hours if we wanted to. Do I want to destroy their infrastructure? No. It will take them 100 years to rebuild. Right now, if we left today, it would take them 20 years to rebuild their country, and it would never be as good as it was.
Still, Iranian retaliatory strikes are continuing to target Israel, as emergency services scrambled on Tuesday to respond to attack sites in central cities. Iran's top diplomat Abbas Araghchi has repeatedly stressed that Tehran has no interest in halting hostilities until Washington complies with all of its demands. Araghchi was quoted saying that bridges can be rebuilt, but the opportunity to discipline America will not be repeated. Iran's attacks are also continuing to reach U.S. allies in the Gulf, with Kuwait and the UAE reporting additional incoming threats on Tuesday.
Three people were killed and a dozen more were wounded after a Russian drone targeted a bus stop in the Ukrainian frontline city of Nikopol on Tuesday. This video shows the police and emergency crew working at the scene of the Russian strike. The drone targeted a moving bus as it was pulling into the stop to pick up additional passengers, the regional military administration head said on Telegram. Meanwhile, a Russian shelling on the southern Ukrainian town of Kherson killed at least 3 residents and wounded at least 7 others, according to a regional official. Moscow is increasingly launching daytime strikes targeting everything from civilian areas to energy and other critical infrastructure. Last week, a barrage of almost 500 missiles and drones targeted the Kyiv region, killing 1 person. Ukraine's foreign minister Andriy Sybiha accused the Kremlin of deliberately targeting civilians. The attacks came after Moscow ignored a Ukrainian Easter holiday ceasefire proposal, claiming they never received such a request.
A high-speed train in France collided with a heavy goods vehicle on Tuesday morning, killing the train driver and injuring a dozen people. The accident occurred at 7 a.m. at a level crossing between Béthune and Lens in the Pas-de-Calais region in France. The truck was carrying military equipment. 246 passengers were on board the train that was traveling from Dunkirk to Paris. 2 people are in critical condition, but their lives were not in danger, while 13 people were in a serious condition. Authorities have said they are investigating the circumstances of the crash. The railway line will now be closed for at least a week. The driver of the military truck, a civilian, has been taken into custody on suspicion of manslaughter by willful endangerment of the lives of others and causing bodily harm by a lorry driver through a willful endangerment.
The Greek Parliament's Ethics Committee unanimously recommended lifting the immunity of 11 lawmakers whose names appear in a case file submitted by the European prosecutor as part of its investigation into a farm subsidy scandal. The lawmakers are from the ruling New Democracy Party, and all 11 had requested the lifting of their immunity. 9 of the 11 MPs provided explanations by submitting a written statement, while only Notis Mitarakis and Kostas Tsiaras turned up in Parliament. Tsiaras and Mitarakis issued a statement saying that the case must be resolved as soon as possible. The final decision is expected to take place after the 19th of April. The investigation looks into whether beneficiaries of agriculture subsidies had made false claims, with some making claims for land they did not own and exaggerating the number of animals on farms.
Empathy can be more powerful than funding. Actress and UNHCR Goodwill Ambassador Christine Davis has told Euronews Morning Show Europe Today. Known for playing Charlotte in the world-renowned TV series Sex and the City, Davis has just returned from Sudan, where she met mostly female refugees who had fled violence and human rights abuses.
They did nothing wrong to make them be a refugee. They're just trying to keep their family alive. And many of them told me stories of their husbands being taken out of the house and shot in front of them. That was the pressure that made them leave. Also, they'd been having food insecurity for a long time before that, so they'd been struggling and they knew that things were difficult.
Last year, UN General Secretary Antonio Guterres warned the organization was facing its most fragile cash position in years, as major contributors like the US and Russia did not pay their share. Despite funding cuts, however, Davis said the UNHCR continues to provide life-saving assistance. On the broader regional context and the ongoing war in the Middle East, she warned on the long-term consequences of ongoing conflicts.
Over 1 million people have been displaced in Lebanon already, and it's just begun. So it's deeply, deeply disturbing, and I hope that people can find a way to de-escalate.
Beneath the hustle and bustle of Paris's boulevards lies an empire of silence. 20 meters underground, the catacombs are not just a labyrinth of stone, but the guardian of a staggering legacy. Since the 18th century, this sanctuary has housed the remains of millions of Parisians. From the anonymous victims of the revolution to the great figures of history, the very soul of the capital rests here, frozen in limestone.
Il s'agit de défunts morts à Paris entre le Xe et le XVIIIe siècle. Donc même si on ne sait pas combien exactement il y a de défunts, il y en a des millions. Et nous avons la charge de conserver ce lieu. Et pour conserver ce lieu, il était urgent de faire des travaux d'amélioration des installations techniques, de la ventilation, de la lumière, de l'électricité.
Faced with the ravages of time and humidity, certain sections of femurs and skulls have undergone meticulous restoration to bring back the full impact of the site's macabre architecture.
On a dû faire tous les travaux en 5 mois seulement, avec des conditions d'accès, d'évacuation très spécifiques. On avait des maçons, des électriciens. Tout ce petit monde travaillait en souterrain, ensemble, avec des cadences très particulières durant les 5 mois de chantier.
The result of a colossal effort, this marks a true renaissance for the catacombs. Between sublime scenography and immersive sound, every detail has been reimagined to offer the 2,000 daily visitors an unprecedented sensory journey into the heart of this sanctuary, unique in the world.
NASA's 4 Artemis II astronauts are homeward bound after successfully completing a lunar flyby that saw them travel deeper into space than any other humans. Houston's Mission Control regained communication with the crew after an expected loss of contact for some 40 minutes as their spacecraft passed behind the far side of the moon. As they began their return towards Earth, U.S. President Donald Trump called and congratulated them, calling them modern-day pioneers who made history.
We were just at complete peace and just doing our job and just trying to do a good job to collect as much science data as we could while we were on the far side of the moon, and we were just giddy in here, like of our lives.
He's being a bit humble, but as soon as we went out of comm with Planet Earth, we did have maple cookies. As we just gathered together for about 30 seconds, each one of us had a maple cream cookie and then right back into the science. But we had to take a moment to honor that time going behind Earth, and it was going behind the moon and out of touch with Earth, and that was a very surreal moment for this crew.
Astronauts Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen spent hours sending back detailed observations of the moon as they passed around it. They also observed a total solar eclipse after completing the flyby. Their mission sets the stage for a moon landing by 2 astronauts near the moon's south pole on Artemis 4 in 2028.